Okay, so for this part of our counseling session, we've already talked about what the four horsemen of the apocalypse are, so we're going to share that with our people. This is Abby.
Hello.
And this is John. Now, Abby and John have been dating for just a couple of weeks over a year, right?
Something like that.
Cool. So how did you guys meet? Either one. Talk to the camera.
So I was working at the gym, and Abby walked in one day, and I was actually working with my roommate, and legitimately, like, the moment I saw her, I called dibs on her. And then she walked up, and my super romantic first words to her were, "Hi, welcome to Gold's Gym." And so we talked kind of in those like brief 5-minute windows that you get between her walking into the gym and actually having to go work out for a couple months, and then I ended up leaving my number on her treadmill one day, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Okay, so what we're going to go over today, guys, is the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And we've already discussed this. There's a board there to kind of look at it. So there are four things. There's a guy named Goatman, and he found a way to, with 90% accuracy, to describe if a couple would get divorced based on how they do these things. So we have criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and snowballing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through them one at a time. And you guys just have to be completely honest. Every couple has these things, by the way. So it's not like, oh, we're the bad couple. You're just going to decide, is this something that is affecting your relationship? You can say, I do it. You can say the other person does it. But I want you to elaborate and give examples on it. So criticism. Criticism is whenever you just you're just very negative about how somebody does something. Like you're never pleased with it. It can be, you don't put up the dishes right. You leave dishes in the sink. You don't drive correctly. You don't put dishes away in the dishwasher. Yeah, see, we got a few of them. So does anyone in the relationship do this one?
I do.
Okay, you do? So give an example.
Abby driving.
Okay, so explain it a little bit.
If we're going over 5 miles, I drive.
Can you tell us why?
She's flipped the car.
I'm a very good driver. Well, I don't necessarily like driving, but I'm very spacey, and I never know where I'm going. So like we've gone to his parents' house like probably over 100 times, and I'm still like, he's like, Abby, you just missed the turn, and it's like, oh, I thought you were gonna tell me. So it's just easier for him.
Okay. So this is a really simple one. So the opposite of a criticism is usually an I statement. So you say something, and it has to be something positive. So you can't say, I really hate your driving. That doesn't help anything. So an I statement is something very positive, like, John, you could say, Abby, I really appreciate you driving. And if you say that enough, even though she's not driving perfect, you're still happy about it. Or Abby, you can tell John, hey, I appreciate you driving because I didn't know where we're going. Mm-hmm. And that really affirms him. Okay, so our next one here is defensiveness. Now this is one I know I'm super guilty of too. Defensiveness is when you're passive aggressive about things. So you might say things like, man, I sure do wish we weren't late all the time. So you're not taking ownership of that. You're actually passively aggressively blaming somebody else for that. So do either one of y'all do that in this relationship?
I think maybe I do, but I don't express it.
Okay, so can you explain a little bit?
I'm trying to think like
Examples.
Yeah, like if I get butthurt over something, instead of coming and talking to him, let me think of an example.
Okay.
Like if he hasn't texted me all day because he's busy, like I stew at home and I'm like, oh, I just want to talk to him, like, and I start getting mad and upset and never think like, well, hey, why don't you text him first? And so maybe so I don't text him for 6 hours because I'm waiting for him to text me first.
See, that's a perfect example. And that's exactly what defensiveness is you're passively aggressively not talking to him because you want to talk to him.
Yeah.
And the opposite of defensiveness is where you actually do take ownership of your thing. Yeah. So you just say, instead of saying, man, I'm so upset that we're always late and passively aggressively attacking somebody, you take ownership and say, hey, I could probably have told you we needed to leave early.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something you could do, right? Is text him more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I missed you. Let's chat tonight.
See, there you go. That'd be a very good one. All right, so our next one is contempt. Now, contempt seems like that one that's not in any relationship, and no one wants to say, oh, yeah, we have a lot of contempt in our relationship. But contempt is whenever you can mean to or not mean to make fun of each other, or roll your eyes when it's just kind of a show of disrespect in some ways. So contempt can be where you just flat out, you're mean to each other, you say harmful things, or it could be just making a joke about each other and the other person not taking it well, or rolling your eyes or anything like that. So do you feel like you might do this?
Do you think I do that?
There's been one time where we were around your friends, and I don't think, low battery.
Hey Alex, it's got a low battery. Hey, how long has that been going on?
We're good.
Is it still recording?
Has it
I
been,
think it should still
has it
be
been recording the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay, we had
It
low
says
battery.
it says like 8 minutes.
Okay,
9 minutes.
we had low battery issues for 1 second. We're gonna go back to this though. Okay, so back on contentment. So, John did this one time.
When we were hanging out with friends, and I don't think I really even noticed it,
Mm-hmm.
but we got in the car and he apologized. He said, I think I kind of like made jokes at your expense tonight. And he's also really good at apologizing when he recognizes like, and like I said, I don't think I was kind of oblivious to it,
Mhm.
and I don't even remember what you were joking about, but I remember you apologizing.
Well, it's definitely one of those things that I know I've done like before in the past, like with previous relationships, and so I feel like that's something that, like, you know, I like Abby so much that I usually catch myself like not making jokes at her expense. You know, even if I think it's really funny and think my friend, you know, because that's, you know, being a single guy for so long, you know, that's guys rip on each other all the time, and it's funny. And in the past, you know, it's been like, oh, I can, you know, just treat somebody else the same way. Whereas with her, you know, it's more, it bothers me, you know, and so that's when I feel that guilt and that bad, you know, it's like, even if you don't notice it and it's not like something that I feel like is bothering you, I still feel bad about it.
Well, that's super awesome. So content, the opposite of content is obviously like being positive to each other. So like you just said, that you love Abby so much and just showing her that you care about her and things like that, little actions to show that. And just being positive about it, you know, just saying like all those negative things. Instead it's just positive things like you exactly just did. Oddly enough, this is actually one of the biggest things that can lead for divorce. Goatman actually could just pinpoint this one thing in relationship, how severe it was, and he could actually tell you pretty well just based off that one horseman how severe it was and how if you were going to divorce. So the fact that you already do that is fantastic.
Well, and I feel like that's one that you would start doing once you stopped caring less and less about the person. So like, I don't know, like the fact that like you recognize, like, before you even do it.
Well, and it's definitely like a conscious thing.
Yeah.
Like it's there in my mind because it's, you know, sometimes you'll think like, oh, this would be really funny, but then it's like, no, that's not. Don't do that.
That's fantastic. Most people don't think that way. This is a pretty big one. Now our last one here is stonewalling. Now stonewalling is the absolute most severe out of all four of the horsemen, but it can start off very, very small and it can work its way to get severe. So the secret is, as long as you're doing these other things, this probably isn't going to become the biggest issue in your relationship, but if it is, there's some things to fix this. So stonewalling is where you shut down. You do not communicate. If something's bothering you or someone's angry or anything, or if you're angry, you just refuse to talk. And it's severe because one person can be trying to fix the problem and the other person has completely shut down all interest in it. So we're laughing. So I'm guessing we probably might do a little bit of this.
Definitely majorly me.
I
Sometimes a little bit.
I definitely do with when I don't think it's a big deal. So
Okay.
like I know a lot of times I get like easily frustrated with stuff, but then in my head, like especially with you, like
He
probably
works
more than
it.
anything, it's just like, okay, this is stupid. You shouldn't be mad at her for this, and so I just let it go.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily like, but I know then because we've talked about this a lot too.
Yeah.
You know, she's expressed it like, well, I would rather you let me know, like, when you're frustrated at me with something, even if it is stupid.
Because I felt like I was the only one bringing up negative things, so that makes it harder for me because I'm like, oh, I'm always the one that's mad or like upset or angry, and I'm not as easily able to like work through it in my head, because I think I don't know if that's which one of those, but like I hold on the passive aggressive one, like I instead hold on to that internally, and then 3 months later it's like whoa, like volcano eruption. So, but and that's really cool that you work through it in your head, but
There's also just been so few of things that I've like genuinely got upset at you for.
Most of his are definitely like, I'm trying to hang a picture on the wall straight, and Abby just wants me to nail a hole in the wall and not care.
Or like the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And then that turns into, I feel like, more of like criticism.
Yeah.
And then I feel bad, have the guilty feeling and feel bad about it. And then, you know.
But I am not good with confrontation in any situation, especially when someone like is important in my life, because I feel like I need to keep them around and keep them happy and be a people pleaser. But then it's warring inside of you internally. So that's something we've actually worked on a lot. And like I've talked about, like I need, like whenever I'm finally able to vocalize, I kind of have to say like I need help balancing out these emotions. Like I don't know how to handle them. And I mean the first time
to make you talk about it.
Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
I kind of had to tell him, because he would ask me 3 or 4 times like, hey, something wrong, and I tell him no. And so I kind of had to say like, I'm the type of person, like I need you to ask me like 12 times, and then finally it's gonna be like I'll get enough of like he really wants to know, because
we've really had to work through that, because it's like I'll keep asking you and you keep saying no, and so I'm like, okay, well, be respectful of like she's not ready to talk about this and everything. But then, you know, when we're both in like a good positive mindset and talk about it, then it's like, you know, what she's telling me is like, no, I need you to really like push the envelope of like, if you know something's wrong, like
which is
make
dumb.
me talk about it, because otherwise I'm not going to want to.
That's not dumb at all. You guys, what that actually means is that you actually have such open communication that when this does happen, because you know this is a thing, that you've already worked out a procedure to get that. So the opposite of stonewalling obviously is sharing, communication, which you guys are doing that. One other technique that you can use, 2 techniques actually. One of them is with stonewalling, you can have wait time, and you can say, do you want to, you know, are you upset about something? Like, no, I'm not. Like, okay, well, I'm going to give you 15 minutes to think about what you're upset about, because I can tell, and I'm going to come back to you in 15
You're
minutes.
really good at that, though.
Yeah.
Like again at the Grand Canyon, like you know, I think you recognize when it's just like, okay, I'm at my like frustration boiling point. Let's just let him do his thing, and then, you know, we'll come back.
We were supposed to get to the Grand Canyon at like 6 p.m. and put the tents up when it was bright outside. And that was the one thing before we went camping. He's like, man, I'm really glad we're not going to have to put the tents up in the dark. Well, through my like not being I'm a good planner, but I'm not like a supernatural camper. We got to the Grand Canyon at like midnight, and he was putting our tent up, and the ground was rocky too.
Oh, man.
And he wasn't being rude or mean, but he was being very short. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go start unpacking the car and let him just do his thing. And the next morning, this is such a big thing too. Like I've never had men, especially, be apologizers. The next morning, he apologized. He's like, man, I was a jerk last night. And it was like, oh, like I didn't.
Oh, that's neat.
Wow, that's really nice of you, like just to offer up. So we both, I think, kind of are like thinkers, and I'm not good at words, so
She's a lot since you're a librarian.
I know. Well, I need that time to like
Process.
Like what are my emotions doing right now?
Well, no big deal. So, I mean, that's obviously the wait time is one. Another thing you can do, and I like this one a whole lot, is a little bit of narrative therapy, is you can get a piece of paper and you can actually list out things that are bothering you about the other person, which is oddly enough a little bit of criticism and contempt, a little bit. But then you can start putting down positive things to fit those things. Like you might say something like, we're always late, you know, that's defensiveness. Well, then you can put something down positive and say, but they always go with me. I don't have to go places alone, and they're always willing to go with me. Or you might put something down criticism, you know, and say something like, man, this person is stonewalling. They never want to communicate. And then you can put something like, well, he pushes me to communicate. He's making this better. So that's some things.
So he said we're always late, and I'm thinking, but at least we get there.
Exactly. Always a positive. All right, so that is the end of the 4 Horsemen. So this is our couples. Wave back to the camera. All right, we'll see you guys later.